Hello, Padawan. How are you? It's BRG. For those of you who are not a student of mine in women's authors class, this video will not mean anything to you. This is for my students at DeSales, so we can talk about the final project and the final paper and what that is supposed to be. So pause me, grab your handy dandy notebook and a pen or a pencil or a crayon, and write this stuff down. Okay, did y'all pause? Go get your stuff. All right, so we're going to talk about the paper first, and then we'll talk about the project that comes from the paper. So this is a college level paper. You are all college level students, so I'm expecting what I always expect on these kinds of papers. I'm expecting research from scholarly resources. That is not Wikipedia. You need to go to the library to get these things, right? And our library is online, so you don't have to leave the comfort of your dorm room. You can figure it out, right? And you've had English 1, 2, and some other English class, and most of you are seniors. You know how to do this, right? Now, you know that 7 to 10 pages is the length, but you can say a whole lot in 7 pages that's meaningful, and you can say a whole lot of nonsense in 10 pages. It needs to be long enough to get your point across, and you want to have a thesis that is arguable, right? And the way that you can figure out if it's arguable, just say in your head, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm here today to argue that blah, 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 blah is blah, 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 right? If you can't argue it, if it's already a fact, Margaret Atwood wrote some poems. That's a fact. You're not going to That's not something you can argue, right? That her poems represent the marginalization of women in Canada. She's Canadian. Whoever has her as a person, right? That's something more that you can argue. But then you want to be careful that it's not too big that you'd need to write a master's thesis about it, right? You're writing a 7 to 10 page paper for an undergraduate degree, so you don't have to go nutso banana pants. All right. So you definitely need scholarly resources. You need to have a thesis that you can argue, 3 points that prove whatever it is you're trying to prove, and then you need evidence from the texts, right? Now, you want to be bolder and braver than giving me a biography of your person. I don't care. I can look that up on Wikipedia. I am looking for you to think about the body of work of the person that you've studied, Laura Ingalls Wilder, um, Ayn Rand, Sylvia Plath, Virginia Woolf, right? And I'm looking for you to find something that really caught your eye, that really was interesting to you, that you want to prove. Now, think about the things that we talked about in class. We talked about whether or not the author's personal biography had any impact on the story, right? Mary Shelley, did her mother dying when she was a tiny wee tot, did that impact her in such a way that then she crafted the monster in Frankenstein to be a representation of how she felt as a child, right? So I'm looking for, something with some meat on it, something important that you want to say about your author and her work, right? And you have lots of free liberty to pick anything you want. And if you're not sure, if you're not like, writing's not your thing and you're not sure if you have a good thesis, run it by me. I'll tell you if it's a good thesis or not. Better to do that now before you write a whole paper about something that I'm going to think is awful, right? Better to run the thesis by me, and then I can tell you if it's something that's defensible and then something that is interesting, right? So remember, we talked about the author's relationship to the work. We talked about the time period in which the person lived, right? Kate Chopin, an advocate for women and mental health for women. Something very interesting about her is for her advocacy and that brilliance that she has in the awakening. She was also, a slave owner, right? So what does that say about her, right? That she could see freedom for some, but not for all, right? Like there's something interesting you can say, but think about the time and space in which she lived. Remember, she's a regionalist writer, writing from the Creole South. Um, so think about who she is and when she's writing, and and think about the issues that surround the topic. And don't be afraid to say, bad things about your writers, right? You have, you might be focused on a modern writer, someone like Margaret Atwood, who's still alive, someone like Dr. Ramsden that we heard from directly, right? You can talk about the time period in which they live, the kinds of material they have access to, the research that they did. One of the things that we discovered in talking to Dr. Ramsden and comparing it to Mary Shelley was that, Mary Shelley didn't have nobody has ever built a human. So, her sort of description of how the monster is built is sort of sketchy because what did she draw on? But then we have the idea that maybe she didn't write that by herself. Maybe Percy Shelley and Lord Byron helped her out, and then she just signed her name to it. All kinds of cool things that you can talk about in your paper. But run your thesis by me. Make sure you're using scholarly research. Make sure that you're not saying nonsense for 10 pages because it'll bore you and it'll bore me, and that isn't great. Standard college level English. Avoid personal pronouns. You know the drill. We've been through this before. You know what to do. All right? So that's the paper. So then, once you have your paper, then you're going to prepare your poster session. Now, a poster session in the sciences, if you're a STEM major, is something that happens at a conference. So there's a little bit of professionalism to it that's different than if you're just like, presenting some random fun thing in class, right? So you want to dress the role, right? Now, I know you're thinking, oh, why do I have to dress up for class? Well, I'm not making you take an exam, so that's why. But here's why. I play the pipes. And if I could play the pipes in shorts and a t-shirt all of the time, I absolutely would do that because I hate putting all that crap on, right? It takes me forever to get dressed with the special socks and the sporran and all the stuff that I have to wear. But if I'm playing at a funeral, people are expecting to see me dressed like a bagpiper because that's part of the thing. It's part of it, right? So you're going to play the role of a professional delivering your poster session, so you want to dress the part, right? So that's part one. Part two is what goes on the poster board. So you're going to go to CVS down in Coopersburg. Or I think the school store has them too. You're going to get the tri-fold poster boards. They fold. And on your poster board, you're going to have a mixture of images and quotes or facts or something interesting that talks about your paper. Now, you don't want to just cut up your paper and paste it on the board, right? Nobody's going to stand there and read all that, right? They are going to glance at some facts and things that you've highlighted, and they're going to ask you about what you've written about. So you're going to stand next to your board and you're going to talk about different things. So I would have my thesis statement on there somewhere. I'd have the 3 main points that I was going to prove. I'd have some pictures to go along with it. Now remember, BRG is not born yesterday. She's been doing this a long, long time. Bigger pictures don't get you a better grade because all you're doing is really just taking up room so that you don't have to have content. BRG is smarter than that. So don't try to fool BRG, right? Put like legit content up there. And then when we come around, when the class comes around, we'll be asking you about your author and what you looked at. And you're the expert. You're going to tell us. We didn't have time to read all of the amazing authors that we could have read this semester, right? There just wasn't time in 14 weeks to cover all the amazing people. So we get a little glimpse of your person in your presentation. What should we know? Do we really care, like the fine-tuned biographical stuff? No, we don't care about that stuff, right? I mean, we want to know what year they're born, probably what year they died, because that makes a difference. We want to know where they're from, like Canada or New Guinea or wherever, right? We want to know where the person is from, but really, we want to know what it is that captured your soul. What really captured you that you devoted yourself to in writing that paper, and why is it important? Why should we care? What does it say about literature? And remember that literature is about the human condition. So what is it about this author that resonates with the human condition? You're going to decorate your poster. If you're not artsy craftsy, I am not artsy craftsy. I would print things out on the computer and cut them out and put them up. That's, nicely. But some people have great handwriting. Some of our education majors have mad crafting skills. I'm not as concerned with the look, although it needs to look professional. I am concerned with the content, right? And remember, this is your final exam. So, how much content am I going to want to prove that you did I mean, I know you had your commonplace book, so I know you've been working on these authors all semester, in theory, right? So, like, this is the full body of what you've done all semester. I need to see evidence of that on this poster, right? If you just have like one little thing and a sticky note, it's not enough, right? Remember, it's a final exam. Treat it like a final exam, okay? So those are the tips. I provided links for you for some examples of posters and what they look like. You want to put your citations on the back. You can just print out your MLA works cited, or if you did a bibliography, if you're using APA, just print that sucker out and slap it on the back, right? So you only have to have stuff for your presentation on the front of the board. The back of the board is where you put your citations. So you can just print that out. You can print it out directly from your paper and just tape it to the back. So I think that's everything you need to know. Alrighty. If you have questions, email me, and you have my cell phone number. I'm not going to put it on this video because I have to host this on YouTube so that I can get it to you. So you have my cell phone number. It's in the syllabus. So you can text me if you have a question, or if you want to take a picture of it. If you lay it out and you don't tack things down, you want to lay it out, take a picture of it, and show it to me and, see what I think. I'm happy to do that. All right? All right. Wishing you all the best in light, love. Make good choices, and I will see you soon. Happy Thanksgiving. Take care. Bye-bye.